We're highlighting the Eastern South Carolina Alliance. Stay tuned to Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're in Florence, South Carolina at the Vail South Building. We're focused on the Eastern South Carolina Alliance, and we're visiting with Frank Jones, the Executive Director of the Marion County Economic Development Commission. Good morning, Frank. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Incredible opportunity to highlight the Eastern South Carolina Alliance and to highlight Marion County and other of the 7 member counties. Real quick about yourself. Are you originally from the area?
Yes, I'm a Marion County native. I grew up in Marion County. I worked there. Well, I continue to work there all my life. So, yes, Marion County is my home.
You attended schools in Marion County?
Right, I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You still have family in Marion County?
That's right.
That's great.
I have all of my family is there. I live in Mullins, and my 2 children live in Marion, so we're all Marion County folks.
That's great. Well, we think of Mullins and Marion County in a very, we at Fox 43 and the company are very positive light. Our tower, our broadcast tower, is between Mullins and Nichols off of Highway 76. Got some property there from a gentleman. I wish I could remember his name right now. Excuse me. You had been in the banking industry a heck of a long time prior to taking on this position. Your last position in the banking industry before becoming executive director here at the Economic Development Commission?
Yes, I was the president and chief executive officer of Davis National Bank in Mullins. Davis National was a locally owned bank, and I stayed with that bank. I was the chief executive officer for about 13 years, and then I retired in 1994.
In 1994, you were also in the Army National Guard.
That's right, I was.
Tell the viewers a little about that experience with the National Guard.
But quite honestly, when I started to work for the bank, they had lost several people into the military, so they encouraged me to join the National Guard, which they already allowed was what I would like to do. So I was going to be there for a short period of time and then get out. But things continued to develop, the doors opened, and let's just say I happened to be at the right place at the right time. And I enjoyed what I was doing, and it moved from the National Guard of the early 50s to really a part of the active Army in the early 90s when I retired from the National Guard.
And you had retired as a brigadier general, I believe.
Correct.
What's that like when folks call you general, Frank? I just can't imagine when I sit through that and think of, you hear that, hello, General Jones. What's that like?
It's kind of like people used to say to me, what's it like to be in the bank handling that money all day long?
Right, that too, yeah.
After a while, that's just a product. You don't really see it as money. And when you stay as long in the military as I did and you work through the ranks, yes, becoming a general officer is the aspiration of a lot of people. Mm-hmm. But when you get there, it's kind of like that money in the bank. It's just another one of those steps of progression that you have taken.
Right.
I guess probably one of the most interesting things that I realized when I became a general officer was it's like there's a family of general officers, and when you get together, it doesn't really make any difference whether you're 1-star or 4-star.
Right.
You're general officers, and they just have that kind of relationship where even though, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4-star or your superiors, you don't get that feeling because it's kind of like a big family general officer.
Right.
It's a great experience, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
I would take nothing for it.
I guess we should have opened up with General Frank Jones, and I'm sorry I didn't. Forgive me. I think you were also amazingly received the Order of the Palmetto.
I did. When I retired from the National Guard, and let me just give you a little bit of that so we can lead into that. The unit that I commanded out of Newberry, South Carolina, was the largest unit in the state of South Carolina, and we became a part of the 1st Infantry Division, which, has a lot of heritage militarily. And so I had that position, actually commanding what's called the 3rd Platoon of the 1st Infantry Division. And that was the first time the South Carolina National Guard unit had done that. So when I retired, through the help of some legislators that were involved with me in the National Guard, went to the governor, and the governor issued me the orders and I met him. Was I proud? Yes, I was. You know?
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. That must be an amazing feeling. And I know today's focus on the Eastern South Carolina Alliance, but I wanted to ask one last thing, which probably helps a heck of a lot in your role as executive director of the Marion County Economic Development Commission. You served on city council in Mullins, one of the communities in Marion County. Has that helped in stretching out to help promote businesses within the county as well as reach out to other counties?
I guess what it does, it gives you a better feeling of the inside operation of a municipality.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really say that it caused me to be able to reach out farther, but, you know, you can't work in this business without the help of the municipalities. So I understand it better. I know what they have to go through with, but yes, it was great help.
Mm-hmm. And how long have you served as executive director of the Marion County Economic Development Commission?
I am starting my 8th year this month.
Okay.
I came there in November of '94.
Can you tell the viewers a little about the commission, its primary goals, primary target?
The primary target of our Economic Development Commission is, let's just look at it as being twofold. There's
Okay.
some other
Yeah,
things, but twofold.
please.
One is to work on the recruitment of primarily the manufacturing industry to create jobs and to create tax revenue from a tax base.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly is to be constantly alert and aware of what you already have with the existing industries.
Mm-hmm.
Existing industries, there is a tendency for existing industries to feel that once they come into a community, you forget about them, they're pushed to one side, and you always concentrating on something new. And it's very important that that does not happen. Because since I've been in this business every year without fail, between 80 and 90% of all new capital investment, all new jobs created came from the existing industry.
Yes.
That is true statewide. It's also true of Marion County. So, you know, those are your two primary targets. If you work both of those, you've got a full-time job.
Absolutely. You heard that earlier in the week from Gene Butler, obviously in Dillon County,
Right.
and Ray Harris yesterday in Darlington County. The excitement, as Gene used and as I repeated to Ray, growing the garden you already have. Really
Absolutely.
focusing on that and continuing to grow that, but at the same time always be thinking about how can we make the garden a little larger. Sustain it, but make it a little larger.
Another point is that if you do not have satisfied customers, anybody that's going to look at the county is going to somewhere call these people.
Yes.
And, you know, you want their responses to be right.
And that's a great point as we think. I wanted to wrap up the interview in that way, talking about who some of the folks to tie in, how you make it attractive to prospective employers coming in, and do you use existing employers as references? And I guess you really must.
Yes.
I'm sure you do. Let's talk about ESA, the Eastern South Carolina Alliance. When did you first become aware of the alliance?
But actually, I have a private sector group in Marion County of business people that formed an organization called Marion County Progress.
Yes.
They provide support to economic development efforts. And it was actually that group that started looking at forming a regional alliance of a number of counties. So actually, Eastern South Carolina Alliance gave birth in Marion County as a result of the efforts of Marion County Progress. So that was when I first became involved in it. And we had a local banker that was heading up that, putting that organization together. And then he wanted to pass it off. So I became the first chairman as we were struggling there trying to bring everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, over the years, we have come a long ways in pulling that together.
Mm-hmm. Were you involved? Did you search out other economic development offices or other similar alliances with either South Carolina or North Carolina?
We did. We looked at the alliance up in the Mecklenburg area in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at the one in the Midlands of South Carolina and the one in the Low Country, the Tri-County Alliance down in the Berkeley, Dorchester area, to see how they operated and see if it was something we wanted. Now, we didn't follow those completely because we were directing ourselves to a marketing arm.
Right.
But yes, we did look at others to see how they operated.
And how do you think principally Marion County will benefit from its membership over time in the Eastern South Carolina Alliance?
One of the greatest benefits, I think, one of the great benefits that Marion County will receive from this is that we're going to be able to combine or consolidate some of our resources for marketing efforts. Where we, a small county, as Marion County, some of the others that you are working with do not have the financial resources to do that on our own. So we can market the area. Now, that doesn't bring them specifically to Marion County, but if they look at the area, then it's up to the rest of us to see how we can get them into our respective counties.
That makes it very difficult, Frank. I mean, there is a common goal there, obviously, of having them look at the eastern part of the state rather than the Low Country, the Midlands, or the Up Country. And you want them to look at South Carolina.
Right.
Then you want them to look at the eastern part of the state. And then when you know they're looking, everyone has equal access to the trough at some level. How do you figure out, golly, that can be pretty difficult. You want to make sure that you give everyone a chance to see Marion's shining points.
In my opinion, one of the greatest things that happened here, and it probably took us 2 years to accomplish this, is to establish trust in each of us as economic development directors.
Yes.
We have a tendency, we want to protect our turf,
right,
and we don't want you coming in. You can't run a regional organization and do that. And we removed that difficult time we were having of having trust in each other. And I think if you were to do interviews with any of these people, you would find the same thing. And so that is how we respond back to your question. If someone calls the office of Eastern South Carolina Alliance and say, hey, I saw your ad, then, the building they're looking for may determine which county they're going to look at, or some of the other things. Or may they look at 4 of the 7 counties, not necessarily all 7 of them. And we understand that.
Frank, I think Eric Jones, Executive Director, would be real happy knowing, just recognizing that answer. That sums up much of the progress that's happened in the Alliance over the last few years. And I know I need to wrap up. Golly, I want to get into an opportunity to talk about the thrill of Marion County, much of the activities in the county. We're going to have to get you back on another time to talk more about Marion County, and hopefully you'll help us come up with some good ideas of things in not only Marion County but throughout the PD that we need to focus on.
Sure.
Frank Jones, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Thanks for the opportunity.
General Frank Jones here on Carolina People. Stay tuned for more Carolina People coming up next. Good morning. Welcome back to Carolina People. This morning we're in Florence, South Carolina at the Bell South Building. We're focused on the Eastern South Carolina Alliance, and we're visiting with Bob Vail, the Executive Director of the Marlboro County Economic Development Partnership. Bob, good morning. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
It really is my pleasure.
Great opportunity to highlight the Alliance and much of what's happening within the 7-member counties. Obviously, Marlboro County is a very important part, not only because it is in the Alliance, but also it is a real corner point, or central point of much of how South Carolina interfaces with North Carolina and interfaces with the PD itself. So much happens within Marlboro County, and it's great to have the opportunity to highlight some of that. Real quick about yourself, though. Are you originally from the area?
No, I'm actually a northerner born in the Hudson Valley in a little town called Warwick, New York. And then my folks retired to Florida in '53 and graduated the University of Florida, retired from the Navy after 20 years, been in economic development, and the opportunity arose to go to Marlboro County. Here I am.
Mm-hmm. And when did you become the Executive Director?
I actually started work in January 1998, so it's been almost 5 years.
Can you talk real quick about the partnership, the economic development partnership there in Marlboro County? And real quick for the viewers, I said it borders North Carolina, but for viewers in Horry County or over in other parts of, or even up in Robinson and Scotland County, I guess everyone really knows where Marlboro County is.
Well, we're right below Laurinburg and Gibson and Rockingham, North Carolina. That's the corner where the state goes and cuts down that 45-degree angle. That's the corner of Marlboro County. And the rest of your question was?
The partnership. Talk a little bit about the partnership.
Well, I'm a county employee. Our office is all county employees and county funded to a degree. But the partnership was formed to represent the broad-based private sector community. And each council member had an appointee. The city of Bennettsville has a couple of appointees. Industry does, and the Chamber of Commerce. So I have a board of 20 individuals, and we're formed to develop policy, recommendations to county government, and once approved, whether it be at the partnership level or necessary county government, then we go ahead and implement those decisions. And the important part of having the partnership side as it's formed, it allows me to sell memberships into the partnership to raise the funds, to market, and do other things that we could not do in just a straight county line item budget.
Mm-hmm. And that would be different than most other counties. How about selling partnerships into the?
Yeah, we're structured in a way like a Chamber of Commerce. I have a separate board. Basically, all the funds go into two pots. I draw against the county when it's strictly a county business or function. It's a judgment call on my part or my chairman's part. And then the other in the private sector, like if we're, for example, if we're entertaining a prospect, more than likely that would come out of partnership funds.
Mm-hmm. You talked about the 20 years in the Navy. Had you had any prior experience in something similar to this in an economic development sense before taking on this position?
Yeah, I really did, Greg. In the Navy, I was a designated public affairs officer for 17 out of 20 years, retired with the rank of commander. And in my last position was in the Pentagon. I worked in what they call Community Relations Division, and my job was the director of the division that handled industry and labor relations. And so sort of got my feet wet there working with senior industry officials where they were trying to track defense budgets and market their programs within the Department of Defense. Everything I touched was unclassified, so it really made it a pretty nice job with that constant interaction with industry officials. And that's where I first became really familiar with how industry thinks, what they're looking for, and just developing good, solid relationships with such representatives.
Bob, can you talk real quick about when you first became aware of the Eastern South Carolina Alliance?
Well, at the very beginning, so I've been here almost 5 years. Within the first year on board, to use a Navy term, at Marlboro County, there was, I think, Frank Jones or someone called me about, let's go through and have there had been a couple of false starts, but we decided to try it again and had 6, and eventually led to 7 counties come on board to meet to determine if we could form some type of an alliance where we could work together, build trust and market the region, for the betterment of all of us. And, primarily industry recruitment and business development, but it goes beyond that.
Even with Frank's first call, were you pretty excited about the program, motivated? Surely there are, as you said, trust. Glad you used that word, because the alliance, of course, bringing folks to this part of the state, bringing potential of businesses, employers to this part of the state, but then the trust level kicks in. Which of the counties are they going to be looking at?
Absolutely. Fortunately, South Carolina, from my viewpoint, is a small state. You get to know people in every single county and work with them on economic development, but the interests are different. And there is keen competition. We all have egos. We all strive to win that project, whatever it may be. And what is nice about the Eastern South Carolina Alliance is that we've gotten to know our counterparts extremely well. We've known some of them before. I've known Mike Eads of Florence since 1986. But you develop a rapport. You develop the sense of trust. You can use them as a mentor. The similar problems, how do you resolve them, how did you address it? And overall, when we click and really implement our marketing plan, we're going to have a lot more money and a lot more people involved, more ideas to fall upon to make an impact wherever we decide to market. So I think it's I think it's an excellent opportunity for us. The potential is just tremendous. We just got to make it happen.
Yes, Bob, absolutely. Did you, as an individual, or through Marlboro County, or as a group, did the Alliance begin to check out other alliances in other states or in other regions of this state? Did you look into North Carolina at all? Or?
Yeah, to some degree. Prior to coming to Marlboro County, there was a gap in there of about 3 years. But I was in Lancaster when we formed an economic development partnership over there, totally private. And I was one of the original economic developers involved in the formation of then, I think it was the Carolina Partnership out of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And it grew to have 14 counties as members, and it had a lot of private sector support, some heavyweights behind it. So it was bound to be successful. We had our input, and then it proved to be very beneficial as a source of leads.
Mm-hmm. Since taking the position back in '98, how has the economic development partnership changed during your tenure, during the Vail years?
Well, there was a transformation that occurred. Initially, it was strictly a county office, limited budget, and a very narrow decision-making group, about 4 or 5 individuals. Now we're much more public, exposed to everybody. I think we're more aggressive. We have certainly more capability. We have the funds to market, to advertise, to become a member of the partnership. And I think it's just sort of broadened what we were doing before. Has it changed that much? I don't know. It's just sort of more of the same, and maybe a little new. There's some different directions, including one of the things that we, I think, are very proud of is that we do have an industrial shell building, or some people call it a spec building, of 56,000 square feet on a 20-acre lot, corner lot, in our Marlboro Park. 20 years they've been talking about doing that. It happened while we were here, so that's one positive result. And it also gives them a product to market that is kind of short of in Marlboro County until recently.
Definitely. How about some other positive results recently, Bob? Can you tell the viewers real quick about some of the, again, during the Vail years, some of the things that have happened? I like to call it that. That sounds cool.
The Vail years sounds cool, but I'd be remiss to say so many people involved. You got your county government, you got your city government, you have your private sector. But I think there's major transformations occurred. We, for a while, kind of sat back on our hands. We've become very aggressive in the last 5 or 6 years. Actually started prior to my arrival. And it's just been, if you look across the county, I could give you 3 pages or 4 pages of bullets of accomplishments in the last 2 years. New housing, new upstairs housing in downtown, streetscapes by the city of Bennettsville, expansion of infrastructure and roadways, and upgrade of our airport. One of my favorites is we have Lake Wallace, a man-made lake on the north edge of Bennettsville, 600 and something acres. The dam to the lake is actually run the side of the lake, so it's a 1.5-mile walking path, you might say, that's lit around the clock. It's daylight, of course, it's lit, and at night it has lamps. So I go out walking every morning, for example, at 5 o'clock with my dog. And it's safe, you can see, and it's a really asset that most communities do not have, and that lake and all the recreation and wildlife that's associated with it.
How exciting. That's how exciting, very definitely.
It definitely is high on my list of
I'm sure.
positives of Marlboro.
A great reason for being there.
Well, it gives us some of the amenities that other communities would not have.
Mm-hmm. When you think about the potential benefits or the benefits that have already been received in the very short time that ESA has been underway, can you give the viewers a feeling of what you can imagine it will accomplish for Marlboro County and being a member of the Alliance?
I certainly can. Eastern South Carolina Alliance, again, offers us tremendous potential from the standpoint of marketing. But it's also a source for research. It improves contact. It will help us develop more of a cohesive nature of working together among ourselves. That's why the trust factor is so important. Mm-hmm. And I can't imagine really any facet of our community that cannot be directly or indirectly or will benefit from this in time as we do programs, as we gain community support. Education, it would help us to promote ourselves through education. I like a quote that someone said that all roads in economic development run through the schoolhouse. I think that's very true. Mm-hmm. So it's just a cohesive effort that will interface with whomever it takes to get the job done.
Can you walk the viewers, we've got about a minute and a half, but walking the viewers through the experience of a potential employer coming to the county, what are some hot spots that you show them in Marlboro County? What is something they have to feel or do before they leave?
I think, first of all, early on in the process, you try to identify as much as possible what are their concerns, what are their issues, hot spots as you call them, what's driving the project. Sometimes they're very candid and forthright about it. Other times they're going to hold back and just look. So primarily we show them the industrial park, which is upgraded, $1 million plus upgrade of our industrial park, 234 acres. We talk about site improvements. I'm going to answer this since we're short in time. That projects come in, they can see what you have. And then you give them a handout, they can read what you have. But a lot of them are looking toward trends. Where are we going? So we'll discuss what's happening in the next 2 or 3 years, maybe 5 years out. The improvements to be made, the changes to be made, housing, changes, improvements in the school system. Just talk about the future and where we're going. Because most projects, has been my experience, when they come in and look at a county or a city, they want to know where you're going, what can their employees and their management team and the people they bring, what will be available to them in 3 or 4 or 5 years. I think there's one more point I'd like to make, too, that we are going to have a significant impact in Marlboro County and Bennettsville, as we have a federal medium security prison under construction. That project is to be completed by the construction company, Hansel Phelps Construction, in late June and be turned over to the Bureau. They're going to go through a 3 or 4 month shakedown cruise, to use a good Navy term, to train employees, get them cohesive. Then we're going to have approximately 385 staffers whose incomes are probably twice, family income is twice that of Marlboro County, and a total family input of about 1,000 new people in Marlboro County, in addition to the inmates for census purposes also account. So I'm very optimistic that there's been quite an economic impact and change our whole economy and our outlook as well.
Very definitely. Bob, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
My pleasure, great. I appreciate it.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Linda Boone, Eric Jones, the Eastern South Carolina Alliance and its 7 member counties for making Carolina People such a great success.